So if we're looking at sort of how do you scale that up into more commercial food production, I think community gardens are a great way of sort of like educating people about what it actually takes to grow food. And
well, the conversation about bringing some farming back to the southern Moreton Bay Islands began with conversations that council community development officers had with the community about bringing some economic development to the southern Moreton Bay Islands. And my involvement with the museum, and of course, which is all about the European history here, which is about the farming, with my background as a surveyor, I obviously knew about the subdivisions in the 60s and how that has not proved wholly sustainable, so that we still have a lot of vacant land in the four islands. So putting two and two together, it came about that, why couldn't we bring back sort of modern day agriculture to the islands as a form of economic development, and makes use of unused land, and brings employment, tied in with tourism. So it's getting an industry based on agriculture back to the islands. I started talking, around about a process to make it all happen. So I thought, well, the next course was to find some funding to employ them to guide us through a process of how do we make this all happen? How do we produce a feasibility report, I think was the first thing. So the consultants are employed with the grant money to, at the end of the day, provide a report saying how the industry of agriculture can happen in the islands. And I'd like to introduce Deborah Davis and Alexina Johnson. They have a small business called Finding Common Ground Limited. Alexina is a farmer in the Obi Valley in the Sunshine Coast hinterland. Deborah's family has been in dairying in the same area and in horticulture, and she's a past president of the Montville Village Association. So they have this partnership, Finding Common Ground, and chiefly their history has been one of working on the growing and distribution and marketing of farm produce in the Sunshine Coast hinterland, and working with co-ops, etc., etc.
I guess our key question is, what is it going to take to reinvigorate a vibrant local food system on the islands? And I guess we're looking at a range of things when we're sort of investigating this. We really want to see sort of what are the issues and the challenges with re-establishing food production on the islands, but also looking at what are the opportunities and what are some of the strategies that we can look at in order to address those. And we're starting right from the very beginning, and we'll be looking at the history of the islands and looking at what food was actually produced here, because it has a vibrant, amazing history when it comes to food production, and you only have to look around here today to see how much actually grows here. And I think that's really important, because by looking at what has been done here, we can learn from the past and look at what are the key issues, and things like transport and marketing. They're issues that will face every generation of farmers and producers. So learning from the past, looking at what's been done in the past. We'll also be looking more specifically at the economic and demographic characteristics of the islands, looking at what specifically we have here today, looking at what capacity we have within the community in terms of the age groups of people that are in the community, what level of education. Basically, just getting a handle on what's happening demographically, and looking at potential opportunities for other groups within the community that we can work with. So I guess and also establishing what's here already. And I guess that's why we're looking at organisations like this, because I think it's really important to work with what's already existing in the community. There is no point in actually reinventing the wheel when you already have a wealth of experience and knowledge and resources that are already within the community. So part of our task is to actually sort of pinpoint and find out what all of those actually are. We'll also be looking at issues around what scale of food production is actually appropriate for this area, looking at local markets as opposed to traditional sorts of markets where people used to send all their produce into Rockley, looking at what forms of direct markets, sort of like selling directly to the public but also indirectly through local retail outlets and food production, food service industries and things. So looking at all of those issues, distribution, transport, just identifying what are the key issues and trying to identify what are the challenges and the issues that we're going to have to face along the way in order to get this to actually to work further down the track. So I see it as being a really, it's going to be a really interesting project, and we're at the beginning of the journey here, and we're yet to find out all of those things, and it's going to be very interesting. Well, I guess that there are issues that we can foresee, and one of the issues that we need to look at is that just in terms of land availability and what land is actually available, and in conversations with Dave, there's a lot of land which is underutilised, which has been subdivided for housing but's not used for housing, a lot of older farms that have been abandoned. So what do we do with those? How do we access those? Also working with council and working out what, if you're going to establish small-scale food production in an area that's predominantly residential, how does that work with neighbours? How does it work with government legislation, looking at planning issues that are around what's actually possible under the planning scheme? So just sort of teasing out all of those things and potentially working with council to try and sort of remove some of those barriers to helping people to set up small-scale food production and value-adding enterprises. So
there is, however, a really strong component here of education, mentoring, and understanding exactly what foods will work as far as growing in this area and what foods people are wanting to buy. So it's matching up what can happen in the ground to what people are prepared to pay for. So not so much we're going to poison the population, more around how we can produce a high quality product that will sell. When you get to, however, value adding, that's where you speak to the issue of commercial kitchen usage, and of course there's again those courses that are needed to be taken so that people are in a position of awareness when it comes to producing food.
Black bean, and then they're really sweet. Then you can take them the next one on, where you just throw them in the stew or whatever. Yeah. And then you take them to the
Give